All right, good evening, everyone. So this is Bram for Unit 12 in Nuremberg's Communities of Violence, Persecutions of Minorities in the Middle Ages. So I do want to address this question here. How does the modern world's persecutions of minorities compare to that of the Middle Ages? So I think something that Nuremberg struggled with a lot throughout his monograph, and understandably so, was to find appropriate sources for his work that were recording the massacres or the pogroms or whatever, because even though there were Christian and Muslim chroniclers, or there were individuals writing about these actual violent events, it's kind of difficult to ascertain whether or not they were credible, right, or viable. And at some points throughout the Middle Ages and the late medieval period, these massacres weren't recorded at all, right? So that makes it extremely difficult to understand the persecutions, especially of the purpose of them, right? Especially why these Christian individuals, why they attacked the Jewish and Muslim and leper minorities, right? It almost seems like Nuremberg is forced to speculate quite a bit without that information. Whereas in the present day, we have news stations, we have media outlets, we have information traveling 24/7, so we know a lot more of the information than we would have known, back, say, during the Black Death period. And that actually leads me to what I want to talk about here. In the 14th century, the Black Death plague triggered a lot of attacks against Jews and foreigners and Muslims, which is what Nuremberg talks about, and they were used as scapegoats. But there was also it wasn't necessarily widespread either, right? Of course there were individuals that did riot and did massacre these minority peoples of other faiths that were non-Christians, but it seemed like a lot of their anger was directed towards royal officials as well, and they were angry because of economic issues as well, right? So when comparing the persecutions of minorities of today and the minority persecutions of the Middle Ages, I mean, they're both kind of related as far as the purposes of it, right? The individuals that persecute against Jews or Muslims in general, they're filled with a lot of hate. It just seemed like in the Middle Ages they were frustrated for a lot more reasons, right, versus just racism in a sense. But of course that's difficult to document.